Everybody for being here this morning. As Sarah mentioned, I'm Chris Hosey. I'm the director here at Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and I'm joined up here this morning by Special Agent in Charge Paul Brown of the FBI Atlanta Field Office, Interim Police Chief Gregory Pedrick from DeKalb County Police Department, Assistant Chief Carvin Tice from Atlanta Police Department, Chief Burt Butnick from Emory University Police Department, members of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation also present here with us this morning. Myself and SAC Brown will be the two speakers this morning. We will open up for questions towards the end, and we will address those questions ourselves. The others up here this morning will not. They are here for solidarity, obviously in the loss of one of our own this morning. So with that, I will get started, and then, like I said, we'll try to answer some questions towards the end that are pertinent that we can discuss at this point of the investigation. As Sarah mentioned, we're here this morning to provide further information and updates regarding the investigation into the incidents that occurred last Friday afternoon, August 8th, near the CDC and Emory University. Firstly, and most importantly, our hearts and prayers go to the family, friends, and colleagues of DeKalb County Police Officer David Rose, who was killed in the line of duty during this incident. He served with honor, courage, and unwavering dedication. His sacrifice will never be forgotten, and his commitment to protecting others is a profound testament to the very best of the law enforcement profession. Again, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his agency, and the community which he served. Our investigation obviously began on Friday afternoon and continued throughout the night into early Saturday morning. And as I mentioned earlier, that investigation continues as we speak through our agents and assisting law enforcement conducting numerous interviews, collecting evidence, and that evidence being analyzed as well. Concerning the shooter in this case, Patrick Joseph White, during our investigation, and as lastly on Friday evening, late Friday evening, his family was fully cooperating with the investigation. Our first encounter with the family came late Friday night into Saturday morning when agents and assisting law enforcement met with the parents at their residence. Here's what we can release at this time regarding the shooter and the circumstances around the investigation to this point. The shooter had no known criminal history. Evidence in this investigation indicates that the shooter had recently verbalized thoughts of suicide, which even led to law enforcement being contacted several weeks prior to the incident. A search warrant executed at the residence of the shooter revealed written documentation that expressed the shooter's discontent with the COVID-19 vaccinations. These documents are currently being examined by GBI certified profilers, and they are being shared, have been shared, and will continue to be shared with the FBI Atlanta Field Office. Preliminary information from DeKalb County Medical Examiner's Office indicates that Officer David Rose's injuries were caused by one of the shooter's weapons. The shooter died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Further forensic testing of the firearms evidence will be conducted by the GBI Crime Lab. Additionally, over 500 shell casings have been recovered from the crime scene area. A total of 5 firearms, along with other evidence, has been recovered from the scene and will be submitted for further forensic testing. Close to 200 rounds impacted 6 of the CDC buildings. Electronic items seized in the case are undergoing digital forensic examination, and agents have and are continuing to conduct numerous interviews, review video evidence as well that was recovered. Currently, addition to that, currently our investigation reveals that the rounds fired by the Emory police officer did not strike the subject. The complexity of this investigation requires a great deal of collaboration, which started Friday night and continues to this day, along with information sharing between local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, many of which are represented here today. We don't anticipate any further updates at this time. However, if anything pertinent is developed concerning this investigation, you will be notified and it will be posted on our website. I'll now call Special Agent in Charge Paul Brown to the podium.
Thank you, Director Hosey. I'm Paul Brown, the Special Agent in Charge of the FBI Atlantis Division. Thank you for being here with us today. First, I want to recognize Officer Rose, who responded, one of the first on the scene, and died a hero protecting his community. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Officer Rose's family, friends, and colleagues. So the FBI responded along with our partners Friday night. And as Director Hosey said, with nearly 500 rounds fired and nearly 200 rounds striking facilities on the CDC campus, that's been a focus of ours to process that scene. So late into Friday night, members of the FBI SWAT, along with special agents, went through room by room, clearing the facilities on the CDC campus to make sure no one was struck, there was no victims on that campus with that many rounds being fired onto the campus. I'm glad to say that everyone was safely evacuated, to include all the children in the daycare, and they're reunified with their families. We then worked with the Atlanta Police Department evidence technicians, the FBI's evidence response team, to document the shots into the facility and continue to assist the investigation. I've made every resource available within the FBI to Director Hosey, the GBI, and our partners to assist this investigation. We'll continue to do so. Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, we know that we have recovered video evidence, continue to examine that. We encourage anybody. We know that there's a lot of cell phones out there, that if there's video evidence that would be pertinent to this investigation, or if they have information that they can provide to the investigation, to please contact us. As you know, that can be done through our tip line at 1-800-597-TIPS or 1-800-597-8477. They can also utilize our See Something, Send Something app that is available on Android and iPhones. You can attach videos to those entries, and it can be anonymous if they so choose. There's a choice there for that. And also on our, it can be submitted online through our website. That we can provide that information if you need it. So at this time, we will open up briefly for some questions.
Hey there, Skyler Henry with CBS News. One of the things that we've heard from healthcare workers over the last several days is that they've been concerned about threats based off of misinformation and disinformation tied to vaccines. Is there an assessment, either from you or from Special Agent in Charge, about the threat level as it relates to healthcare workers? Has there been an uptick in the days since or prior to?
Threats of that nature is always something we take very seriously and we look at. We've not seen an uptick, although any rhetoric that suggests or leads to violence is something we take very seriously. So that's something we're very sensitive to. We're going to respond to quickly should we see it in the future, but although we're tracking it, we're sensitive to it, we have not seen that uptick.
Director, you talked a little bit about the investigation so far. I noticed one, we haven't seen a good picture of the suspect itself. Will you guys be releasing one? And then, because of so many rounds, can you discuss what kind of weapons were used? I know there were probably 2 rifles and a shotgun and some handguns, but that's a lot of rounds. Can you talk about how he was able to put those down on that building, if you don't mind?
So, first question with the picture. We'll be sending that picture out later this afternoon. What we do encourage is that the public remembers the face of the officer this next week, especially. I'm not here to publicize the individual, but we do see the importance of that photograph being put out. It will not be on our website, but we will provide it to you here today. Secondly, on the 5 firearms that were recovered, it was a mixture, I believe, of, I know, rifles, a shotgun, and maybe a handgun. I'm not completely sure on that. The majority, I believe, of the shell casings recovered were from a long gun rifle.
Were those weapons registered to him or somebody else? Do you know when they were purchased and how, where?
Don't know when they were purchased. Thanks to great work and quick work by ATF on Friday and Saturday and over the weekend, it was determined that the weapons belonged to the father. And as we mentioned, he was interviewed over the weekend, but they did belong to the father.
Can you give us
With
any
200
more?
rounds, I think you said 200 rounds impacting 6 CDC buildings. We know that there was the daycare there. Can you just give us a sense of the proximity of those rounds to people who were there and what level?
I'm not sure of the location.
How serious this could have been?
I'm not sure of the locations of the rounds that were impacted there. And it was, I believe I mentioned it was up close to 200 rounds that impacted 6 different buildings. And the exact locations of where the round struck, I'm not familiar with.
Can you give us any more specifics about the evidence you said you found regarding White's discontent with the vaccine? Like what that looked like or what we know, if we know anything else?
It was, we're basing that off some of the documentation that we recovered. I would describe it as more of a public awareness. There was no direct threat, as I'll refer to it within it, but it was his public, making the public aware, in his words, of his discontent with the vaccines itself.
You suggested that the suspect was on law enforcement's radar in the weeks prior to the shooting. Was that mainly about his own welfare and his suicidal ideations, or was there any indication that he might carry out some sort of violence?
Well, we're aware that there were law enforcement contacts made with him prior to it. We know within weeks prior to it. Currently this time, our investigators are getting with the law enforcement that made those contacts and finding out what the details of that were.
We know that, according to a law enforcement source, that during the warrant, you guys may have found some medication that he was on. Can we talk about maybe his health makeup just a little bit at this point? Do you have any indications about, was he suffering from any mental health issues that he had medication for? Can we talk about that at all?
I can't speak to that at this time.
When you said there was some public awareness in the documentation that you found, you're talking about social media posts, or what do you mean by that?
No, just basically the overall content of one of the documents was more of wanting to make the public aware of his distrust of the vaccines.
It was one of the 911 calls where it sounded like it came from his father that he had spoken to a specific officer before. Was that with the CDC or Emory? And I mean, did they have this man's name on their radar before this?
Not to my knowledge. I've not heard the 911 call, but I'm sure we will at some point and dig into that and see where it is pertinent to the investigation, but I apologize.
Is there protocol in place when someone has suicidal ideations to restrict them from being able to access weapons, or how is he able to access them?
So all indications in our investigation was that they were secured and that he forced his way into the safe that contained the weapons.
A lot of CDC employees are worried about returning back to the building. They're working from home mostly this week, but are there any plans to work with them to up security in the area, or has there been a conversation about what that looks like moving forward?
Well, Paul may have more to add to that, but I know at our level, we are in communication with CDC security, providing them any information that they need concerning now and in the present for security purposes, and we'll continue to do that with them. Anything to add to that, Paul?
That's right. And we'll work with them on doing a threat assessment to their facility. And certainly, if we become aware of any threats to their personnel or their campus, we'd make them aware of that and take steps to protect them.
I know a couple CDC employees asked maybe would there be physical changes to the outside of the building. I don't know if you would even have that in your purview, but could you talk about whether or not there would be any physical changes to maybe either the guard shack or the building that faces the street like this one does?
I wouldn't be in a position to answer that for the CDC. They're going through an assessment process now, so that's really a decision based on the results of that assessment. If they come to the conclusion that's necessary, then they take those steps.
Can we talk about his arrival to the guard shack and what, if anything, was said and how they turned him away?
I'm not familiar with the exact path taken that day. the majority of the crime scene that we examined was specifically in the intersection around the CVS pharmacy.
What about Officer Rose's arrival on scene? Did he have the chance to even get out of the car, or was he ambushed as soon as he arrived?
I'm not going to go into the details of that at this time. It's enough to know that Officer Rose was doing his job and encountered gunfire, and unfortunately, he passed as a result of that. I apologize.
When you said that there were documents, or he said he wanted to make the public aware of PDF vaccines, or what do you mean by document? Is there a letter or a memo, or is it like a social media?
It was a writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the weapons were secure in a safe, did he have a key to the safe? Did he
No.
get a key? Did he break in? How did he get it?
He broke into it.
Can you clarify where he was shooting from, the suspected gunman, in terms of the CVS? How high up and?
Again, the majority of the crime scene that we examined was in that intersection close to the corner by CBS.
One more question. Was he firing anywhere else besides the CDC building that, from your knowledge, was he firing at anywhere else in the area inside the CVS?
Besides, I'm sorry.
Was he firing anywhere else besides exactly at those CDC buildings, or is it delivered shots inside the CVS? Can you explain that?
All I can tell you there is the majority of the rounds in that direction we know struck the buildings. And past that, I'm not sure.
Thank you for being here today. This concludes our news conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On Tuesday, law enforcement from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and the FBI held a press briefing on the recent shooting near the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia. Officials provided updates on the events of August 8th, when an armed attack claimed the life of DeKalb County Police Officer David Rose. He was honored as a dedicated and courageous public servant whose sacrifice reflected the highest standards of the profession. The shooter, identified as Patrick Joseph White, had no prior criminal record but had recently expressed suicidal thoughts. Law enforcement had been contacted weeks before the incident regarding his mental state. A search of his residence uncovered written materials expressing his strong opposition to COVID-19 vaccines. These documents are being analyzed by GBI profilers and shared with the FBI. White died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and forensic evidence confirmed that Officer Rose's fatal injury came from the shooter's weapon. Investigators recovered over 500 shell casings and 5 firearms, including rifles, a shotgun, and a handgun. The weapons were registered to White's father and kept in a safe, which White forcibly opened before the attack. Nearly 200 rounds struck 6 CDC buildings, but no employees or children from the on-site daycare were harmed. FBI SWAT teams and evidence specialists cleared the buildings and documented the damage. The investigation also involves reviewing video footage, interviewing witnesses, and analyzing seized electronic devices. Authorities are urging the public to submit any relevant information or recordings through official tip lines or apps. Security coordination between law enforcement and the CDC remains active, with a threat assessment underway. While no increase in vaccine-related threats has been observed, officials emphasized that any rhetoric encouraging violence will be taken seriously and addressed immediately.